afternoon, everybody. Wortley Hall are having a series of showcases in the evening at the minute, between 5 and 8, various dates throughout the year. Pretty much equidistant between Barnsley and Sheffield off the A61. The outdoor space and grounds is one of the two options that would give you the biggest capacity at 200 guests for an evening reception. Either the grounds or the ballroom indoors. If you opt for outdoor ceremonies, you could go with a formal setting with the facade of the hall behind, or the fountains, or perhaps something that feels a little more informal in the woodlands. At the moment, there are offers available for remaining dates in 2024, whereby your starting point for your wedding is £3,850. That's making the assumption of 50 day guests and 80 evening guests. Of course, you can then arrange additional numbers beyond as you need. Other showcases are upcoming on the 28th and 29th of April, the 20th and 21st of May, the end of June and very beginning of July on the 30th and 1st respectively, the 22nd and 23rd of September, the 28th and 9th of October, and the 25th and 26th of November. They're all evening showcases between 5 and 8 p.m. If you'd like a daytime showcase, there's one running on the 15th of September run by Wortley itself, or Wedding Fairs Yorkshire are also hosting a couple of daytime fairs with a broad range of suppliers on the 9th of June and 27th of October. There are 55 bedrooms in all, and on site 3 self-catering cottages. Wortley Hall is the ancestral home of the Earl of Warncliffe, also Lord Wortley. There are historic records on the site going back between the 1100s and 1400s of a manor Wortley, before the current Wortley Hall was built in 1586 by the then Lord Wortley, who was the commander of a garrison that took part in the Battle of Tankersley Moor during the English Civil War as loyalists, resulting ultimately in his imprisonment in the Tower of London. I've dashed out here just while the rain holds off and the light is still reasonable, to give you a notion of the lawn's views vista stretching out in front of the hall. So the formal gardens around Wortley offer lots of beautiful opportunities for backdrops and facades to have behind you as portraits as a couple, individually, or for your group shots and family members during the reception. If I were to look back over my left shoulder now, I'd be facing due south, and sort of over that direction, roughly speaking, is west. Over this way we're essentially facing east, over this way to the west, and due south essentially in this direction. So with that kind of orientation, you are going to have a beautiful backdrop for pictures of both yourselves as individuals, as a couple, and group shots during your reception, making use of the fountain, making use of the hall itself. In the afternoon light, we could potentially have used this space for a ceremony setting. I understand there are also options to be amidst the woodland as well, if you so wish. And Besides that, if you're using an interior option, there's nothing stopping us coming out here for portraits, not only in the afternoon, but as twilight and evening drops and the blue hour later on in the evening in the summer around 8 p.m, some of these columns and facades would be absolutely brilliant for creating some silhouettes, doing some backlighting with coloured gels so that I turn and flash one of my off-camera flashes at the stonework of the building itself. We could use this portico, if you will, for colouring it whatever you wish. It might be orange, that would work really nicely for a sunset anyway, but it could be something funkier still if you want to go for a blue or a pink or a green or whatever you will. So the lounge here at Wortley Hall has been decked out by those cherished moments as a ceremony space, offering a capacity of up to 130 guests, featuring some gold leaf details on the ceilings, and besides these enormous sash windows that bring lots of natural light in for both ceremony and photography, with French doors leading out onto the terrace, which is essentially southeast facing. The lounge was what would have been the original sitting room of the hall and leads off in various directions both to what's now the bar and the Sylvia Pankhurst Library. So the ex-English teacher in me cannot help but come in and explore the Sylvia Pankhurst Library, not set up today as part of the showcase, but it does offer an option that's actually connected through to the lounge that we were previously in for perhaps a more intimate space. With a table laid in the middle like this, you might have a wedding breakfast in here, but I imagine more for a ceremony space of what I think accommodates up to 50 guests. The oak-panelled dining room at Wortley Hall accommodates up to as many as 150, at least for evening reception, but it's been done out today for the purposes of what would be a wedding breakfast. So as you can see, it's got this beautiful ambience of the oak panels. The stained glass up above is absolutely amazing, and the Italianate ceiling is just stunning. Look at that. It might sound really silly, and of course this is something that I would tend to do as a landscape photographer, not a wedding photographer, but with the right scene in mind, you can use this kind of beautiful backdrop as a backdrop from down low and still have your subject in frame, albeit at the moment whatever's closest to the lens is disproportionate and looks fat. So at the minute my hips are wider and I need to lean in a little bit with upper body for that to be more like would be normal for portraiture. Not lit the right way now, of course, it would need some off-camera flash, but ultimately that might make for a really beautiful feature set. Besides the Italianate ceiling, you've also got this absolutely stunning stained glass throughout, and the beautiful crystal chandelier. Those cherished memories have done the decor in here for the evening showcase. So if these beautiful ceilings and stained glass aren't enough, these wonderful faux blossom trees as the centerpiece to each table, and the florals along the top table are just wonderful, especially when set out for your guests with centerpieces in this style and with the floating tea lights. Just while I'm somewhere relatively quiet, I thought I'd overlay some voiceover from that footage of the ballroom in Wortley Hall and get you to have a think about approaches to your photography in the evening. You will hear a lot online, possibly I think a little bit too much, about styles, when my advice to you would be to have a broad range of approaches so that in that ambient orange or dim lighting, whatever the colour scheme may be in the ballroom and dancing of the evening, you've still got the opportunity for some options whereby there's no flash at all and it's capturing the ambient atmosphere of your wedding as you remember it, but also some softly, formally lit portraits that are your lasting heirlooms for the album. Equally, you want some fun shots. You might want for the DJ's moving lights to be blurred with motion blur in a slightly longer shutter speed, and have my slightly longer shutter speed freeze you with the flash at the end for that fun bit of dancing shot. Or if I line my voiceover up rightly with my fingers pointing here and here, if I've got some lights on stands in the background that fire when I shoot and I use a narrow aperture, I can have those lights coming from behind, use the ambient light on your face and create starburst or sunburst effects there for a bit of fun. But the blurry movement shots and the starbursts are brilliant fun in balance with those formally lit ones too. You want that broad balance. They're lovely. But if those two things are all you came away with, it's not a broad variety of style and could leave you disappointed for some of the more long-lasting memento images too. So it's useful when planning with your photographer, hopefully me, that you've got that notion of being satisfied with a variety. I would definitely want to have some fun with this mirror on your wedding day. I think we could definitely get both individually, bride, groom, not as a couple before for preparation of course, but definitely groom and groomsmen and also bride and bridesmaids reflected either side in this mirror with the hall beyond would be a really lovely option, as well as coming up the stairs. Room or suite 24 is typically used, I believe, as the bridal suite. No doubt we could use this mirror whereby bride or groom preparing might be standing in it, and with cameraman or woman off to the side, be out of shot but reflecting the bridal or groom preparation. Bride or groom preparation in the mirror might be shot whilst camera person out of shot. Of course, whilst filming myself in that way, I have had the camera automatically focus on me, whereas if taking that photograph, I'd be focusing on your reflection in the mirror. Told there are 55 rooms in total, all individually decorated. So just above the bridal suite, room number 56 here gives you an idea of other guest accommodation. So here we've got room 54 with a very modern freestanding bath in it, and then a quite low Japanese style of bed and decor throughout.